Okay, so let's well, let me do. I did number one in the first video, but I'm gonna go ahead and do number one in this video as well. All right, so that's g of n. Let me equals 3n minus 5, and h of n equals 3n plus 2. And you gotta find. Okay, let me. All right, and then you gotta find 5 times g of n plus 3 times h of n. Okay. All right. So, guys, a couple things real quick. When you have, all right, if you have this, okay, you have this out front. That's g of n, not h, but n. All right. The letter out front, that is the name. That is the name of the function. Okay. And guys, the reason why they started doing function notation, there's probably different reasons, but as you get farther and further along in mathematics, some graphs have more than one. Some graphs have more than one function on it. All right. So if I say y equals, if there's three or four, if there's three or four, if there's three or four um, functions on a graph, if I say y equals, you'll be like, which y equals you talking about? So what they started doing is they started naming the functions by a letter. Okay, so if I ask you what the name of this function is, that's function g. Okay, now the letter or the variable that's in the parentheses, that is the variable being used. That's the variable they're using. Okay, it's also known as an input value. That's known as an input value. You may also hear it referred to as the independent variable. Okay? You also hear it talked about the independent. I misspelled that. All right, the independent variable. Okay? All right, so we got the name of the function. We know what the variable is in parentheses. Okay? The main thing with function notation, guys, the thing that you really need to remember is it is an input value. Okay, so they may give you something to input in the parentheses. You have to put in the function. Okay, now so it says find 5 times g of n plus 3 times h of n. Okay, so now what you're going to do is this: 5 times, now g of n is this guy right here. So you're going to plug that in the parentheses. Okay, so you're going to plug g into the parentheses because it says 5 times the function g. Okay, plus 3 times h of n, which h of n is this guy right here, 3n plus 2. So you're going to make your parenthesis and put that in the parentheses. Okay. All right. Now, so guys, all you do is you multiply. You're gonna distribute that, right? Distribute this. That's gonna be 15n minus 25 plus 9n plus 6. All right, then you're going to combine your like terms. That's 24n. Then that's your answer. And guys, how I know that's the answer? Because if it wanted me to plug in anything but the n, it would have been in this parenthesis right here. Okay? If they wanted me to plug in anything but the variable being used, then it would have been in these parentheses. But that's all you could do with that. Okay? All right, so I plugged that in with the input variable they told me, and then that's all I can do with it. So that would be your answer. Okay? Okay, so let's do number 7. 7 is f of x equals x cubed minus 1, and g of x equals negative 4x plus 2. And you got to find f of x minus g of x. Okay? Now, in this case, guys, what we're doing, we're just simply taking f of x and subtracting g of x. Pretty simple. The main reason I want to do a subtraction problem is because if you don't do it correctly, it'll be wrong every time. Okay, so I'm gonna take f of x, put it first. That's what comes first. So x cubed minus 1 minus. Now the minus here is what has brought it down here. Now the g of x, which is this guy right here, you need to put, if this is minus, you have to put it in parentheses. You have to put that in parentheses. If not, it will be wrong every single time. No, and the left side won't matter. It's the part that's being subtracted. Now, guys, what's going to happen here? What will that negative do to the signs inside the parentheses? It just simply changes it, right? All it's going to do is change the signs of those numbers. So what that's going to be is this: x cubed minus 1 plus 4x minus 2. All right? All right, then last but not least, guys, all we got to do is we got to combine our like terms. That's going to be x cubed plus 4x That's your answer. That's 4x. Okay, so what I did, I had two like terms. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. I just bought the x cubed and the 4x down. Yeah, because see, that negative, think about it, you can think as a negative 1. And if you distribute that in, negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4x. And negative 1 times positive 2 is negative 2. That's how. Yeah, just combine. Always combine your like terms at the end if you have any. 6. The negative 25 plus 6 gave me negative 19. Yep. All right. see if I did. 10 and 12. Guys, let's look at number 8 because a lot of people get thinks this is a lot. There's not much to it. It looks like there's a lot more to it than what there really is. Okay, so number 8. I keep thinking y'all have a sheet, but you don't. F of t equals 3t plus 5, and g of t equals 2t minus 3. And what it wants you to do, it says it wants you to find f divided by g, and it wants you to input a t value. So that's find f divided by g, and then input a t into it. Okay. You'll see, guys, there's really not a whole lot you can do here. Okay. So now, what it wants you to do, it wants you to write f over g. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 3t plus 5 divided by 2t minus 3. Right? I just did what it told me to do. F divided by g. Now, guys, there's nothing you can do here. Okay? So what you can do here, now, what it wants to do is input a t into it. But, guys, what's already there? A t. So that you're done. I mean, you can't do anything else with it. That's the answer, yes. Yep. If it's already there, just leave it. Okay, for instance, they want you to plug a T in, but the T's already there, so just leave it like it is. Yep. Okay, let's do one, guys. I did this with first period, but I want to do it with you guys too because it's kind of a tougher problem. All right, this is number 12 when you get your sheet. H of n is n squared plus 3n, and g of n equals 2n plus 3. Okay, and what it wants you to find is, it wants you to find h minus g, okay, and then it wants you to plug a z divided by 4 in for your input value, okay. All right. Now, so first of all, guys, what I would do first, don't worry about this right now. We want to do this first, okay? We want to do the h minus g part first. All right, so we're going to do it like we normally do. We're going to do n squared plus 3n minus 2n plus 3. So you always want to do your operation first and get it cleaned up and get it in it to its lowest terms. Okay, get it completely to as low as it'll go. So now what that's going to do, we can say that's a negative 1 there. We're going to distribute that negative 1, and that's n cubed plus 3n minus 2n minus 3. All right. The main thing is, guys, what you don't want to do at this step right here, you don't want to input this until you got it completely cleaned up. Okay, that's when you want to start inputting stuff. I say n squared, guys. That should be an n squared, not n cubed. N squared. Okay. Now, guys, notice I have like terms here, so let's go ahead and get that cleaned up. So that's n squared plus n minus 3. Or you can put a 1 in there. That's fine. Whatever you want to do. Okay. Now's the time to put in. Now, guys, everybody see this in its lowest terms, right? You can't do anything with it, right? Else with it. Now's the time to plug in the input value. So what that's going to look like is this. Everywhere I see a variable, I'm going to plug this input value in. So z divided by 4 squared plus z divided by 4 minus 3. This is probably the besides number 10, this is probably the most difficult problem on here, I would say. Okay. Now, guys, if you have a fraction raised to a power, what you do is this. You square the top and square the bottom. Okay? 4 squared is 16. That's how I got 16. Okay? So remember, you distribute it to both top and bottom. That becomes z squared over 16. Now, guys, the way your answer would be, you got to have a common denominator. Okay, you got to have a fraction with a common denominator with all of them. All right, now, guys, does everybody understand that in order to add and subtract these, the denominator has to be the same? Well, if you think about it, in order to get a common denominator, if this is 16, if I can make this 16 and that 16, then I'll have a common denominator of 16. Does everybody see that? Now, so what I do is I come out here and think about what do I have to multiply my denominator by to make it 16. All right? So, guys, what times 4 gives me 16? 4, right? Multiply top and bottom by 4. You can't just multiply the bottom because it'll mess it up. Because you're not keeping your values. It's not keeping the right value. Okay? Now, what do I have to multiply a 1 by to make it 16? 16, right? Multiply top and bottom by 16. Okay? So now, this is what we have. Z squared over 16 plus 4z over 16 plus 48 over 16. So, guys, basically what we did here, we just went back to whenever, I can't remember what grade you started doing that in, probably 6th or 7th when you started getting common denominators with fractions. That's all we're doing here. Now, guys, if all these are the same denominator, everybody said all 3 of those are the same denominator, I can write it this way. 16 on the bottom, and then put the numerators across the top. That's your answer. Honestly, guys, if I would put one of these on a test, and I don't know if I would or not, I mean, it would be a multiple choice test, but that's probably about the most difficult one you would get. And if I would put one of those, it would probably only be one. And it may be something a little more simpler than this. Maybe like a z over 2 or something like that. How many people thought that was pretty too hard, really? What do y'all think? You don't think it's too bad? Okay. All right. Okay, so Now, guys, this is number 20 on the paper. It's I want to show you this because you're actually inputting a number. So it's G of n equals 2n plus 3 f of n equals n minus 4. And what it wants you to do, it wants you to find G times F. G times F. That little dot means multiply. And then it wants you to plug in 2n for the input value. Now, guys, if you plug a number in, if your input value is a number, okay, so notice I'm putting in a number at the end. You will, if you input a number, your output would also be a number. Your answer will be a numerical value. It won't have any variables in it, or it'll be a single number. Okay. So now, if I'm multiplying G times F, guys, both of these are binomials, which means they're two terms. Okay. If you're multiplying a binomial, going back to math 1, this is how you do it. Okay. Some people use box method. Some people use the FOIL method. Some people use distributive method, which FOIL and distributive same thing. So now I'm just going to do the distributive method. I'm going to distribute this. I'm going to distribute my first term in my first parenthesis to both terms in the last parenthesis. Okay, so that's going to be 2n squared minus 8n. Okay, so I've distributed this term into both of these. Now I'm going to come to my back term and distribute those into both of them. So that will be plus 3n minus 12. Okay. Okay, now, combine our like terms. So I combine my like terms. Now, is that going to be my answer here? What y'all think? We did this part, right? We did G times F, but we haven't done this part yet, right? So it's telling you to multiply G times F and then put an input value in, okay, of 2, okay, for your variable. So what that means is everywhere I have a variable, I'm going to plug that input number in, okay? So 2. So everywhere I have a variable, I'm going to put that number in its place, and then I'm going to evaluate it and get a single number. Well, 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10. All right? Well, 8 minus 10 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 12 is negative 14. That's your answer. Okay, guys, there's one more that I want to show you how to do. This is more of a difficult one. And then it wants you to find H plus 3G, and it wants you to substitute N minus 1 in for the input value. What makes this one difficult is you've got a binomial here, okay, and then you got to cube it up here. So that being said, what's going to make this difficult is the fact that this is a binomial and that is cubed. That's what makes it kind of get interesting. Okay. So the first thing you want to do, guys, is you want to do this part of your operation. Okay, you want to do that part of your operation first, and clean it up, and then substitute this in as your input. Okay. So now that's going to be. It says it wants to take H, which is 4n plus 1, and then add it to 3 times G, which is 3 times. Okay. So, guys, I did that first part. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and clean it up. So that's going to be all right. So that gives me so here, guys, I just added I combined those two like terms. Got this. Okay. 4 and 12 n gave me 16 n. Then I just wrote it in standard form from the greatest to the least power. Now, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug my input value in. Okay. So I plug my input value, and everywhere I saw a variable, I plug that input value. Now, everything is pretty easy except this part right here. This is the part that makes it difficult. Now, you can't just say, oh, that's n cubed minus 1. You can't do that. All right? What that means is this. Negative 9, n minus 1 times n minus 1 times n minus 1 n minus 1 cubed is n minus 1 multiplied times itself 3 times. That's what that means. Okay? Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute these front two, and then I'm going to multiply it by the third. Okay? There's probably a faster way to do this. I'm just not aware of it. But distribute that first. That's going to be let's see. Then distribute this. Okay, I'm combine my like term here. Now, if I clean that up, that gives me all right. Now, guys, what we're going to do? We're going to distribute this in. We're going to distribute this into this parenthesis. Okay. Now, I'm gonna put it up front so it don't look so funny. All right, so if I distribute this, that's going to be n cubed minus 2n squared plus n. All right, so I distributed that, got n cubed minus 2n squared plus 1n. All right, now I'm going to distribute the 1n. That's going to be negative n squared plus 2n. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And guys, honestly, it's taken a while, but I mean, I didn't skip any steps. Some of these steps could have been skipped. Like combining like terms and all that kind of stuff in the same step. All right, so okay, so n cubed is going to be by itself. All right, I've got these two n squares here, so that's going to be all right. So we got that gone and those two gone. Then we got these two n's to the first power. That's going to be 3n. This thing like it just keeps going. All right, then that's going to be 9n cubed minus 27n squared plus 27n minus 9 plus 16n minus 15. Okay, now that's going to be, all right, so we can combine these two, so that's going to be guys, I would not give you something like that on a test. I just wanted to do it so you guys wouldn't have to do it. That would be your answer. All right, guys. So I'm gonna let you work on the rest of them. If you guys need help, let me know. I'll be glad to help you. Um, guys, the IXLs. If you have problems, if you do your IXLs and say it does